Breakfast this morning, really simple: oatmeal, bananas, blueberries, papaya, and a little bit of green tea there in the back. Oh my god. So, if you're new around here, maybe you don't know this, but we're renovating our house. And by renovating, I mean we're rebuilding it literally from the foundations up. And when I say we, I mean Levi, because I'm useless with tools. I bring this up because throughout this whole process, I've wanted to be really good about the way that I'm eating still. You know, I don't want to sacrifice healthy eating and giving my body what it needs to thrive. So I want to talk a little bit about making healthy eating happen when you're in big transitions like this. So that could be renovating or moving houses or traveling. Anytime when you don't have access to the usual tools that you would to feed yourself. So basically, it's all about pre-planning. Since I knew that this phase of the renovations was coming, where Levi's literally rebuilding the kitchen right now, I was able to fully prepare for what's happening. So we have plenty of pre-cooked food. I made a bunch of beans, put them in the freezer. I made big pot of whole grain rice and lentils. Excuse my phone. And since I knew that fresh food prep wasn't really going to be possible, not only did I tank up on a big salad, I also bought plenty of frozen vegetables so that I can just easily heat those up, and at the end of the day, our entire meal can be prepared in under 20 minutes, since I know that we tend to work until we're absolutely famished, and I know that at these times, it makes going out and gorging on junk food seem a lot more of a reasonable choice. So when you're going through these types of transition times, it's important to plan to have food available to you so you can just grab it, eat it, and feel satisfied. Another issue could be moving. So depending on the logistics of your move, if you have a long way to travel, you might not have any space to store or prepare food, or you might just be so stressed and overwhelmed because your dog won't stop whining that you really just can't even think about feeding yourself. So again, just try to pre-plan and be prepared. If you can bring food with you, do what you can to stop by the grocery store and stock up on some fresh fruits and veggies. Pre-cook some whole grains to bring with you. Canned beans are a great option. And you can't go wrong with peanut butter and banana sandwiches when you're in a pinch. If bringing your own food isn't possible, take some time to research what kind of restaurants or grocery stores will be available to you along the way. And if you don't already know, you can familiarize yourself with ways that you can veganize food from virtually any restaurant. There are a surprising number of vegan fast food options available to us nowadays. Your best bets being Chipotle, shockingly Taco Bell. They have an entire section of their website dedicated to veganizing their menu. Subway, of course, their Italian, hearty Italian, and sourdough breads are vegan. And also surprisingly, most pizza chains have vegan crust, and you can opt to have no cheese, or some places offer vegan cheeses. Some mixture of these recommendations can work for you while you're traveling. Obviously, finding vegan options is pretty easy for most of us when we go to any grocery store, but whether or not you'll have any space to cook or prepare food is another question. Again, try to get familiar with what's available at restaurants or grocery stores in the area that you're going to be in. The internet is a wonderful thing that means that we are very rarely helpless. I also recently went on an airplane voyage across the ocean back to the mainland. Now, what I do when I'm getting ready to travel is, first of all, I make myself a bunch of orange juice and I drink that beforehand to get me not only hydrated but also pretty well fed. Then I make myself sweet potatoes and I smush those into a jar or some other receptacle, and I bring that with me to eat on the plane. The sweet potatoes are not fluids, so you can get them through the TSA, although guarantee they will check it to make sure it's not explosives. And it's always kind of entertaining to look at their faces when they're asking you what the fuck is in this jar, and they just can't understand why. So once you're at your destination, if you can get to a store, or if you find a restaurant that has sides available that you can use to make yourself vegan meals, here are my top 5 no cook, limited preparation vegan meals. No kitchen required, they're pretty darn simple, and they're fairly cheap. and they have helped me get through many trips and transitions with my health and sanity intact. So first up, let's worry about breakfast. If you don't want to just have fresh fruit like I usually do, my other go-to is soaked oats with either fresh or frozen fruit added in. If you don't have access to refrigeration, it's probably best to just use plain water to soak your oats. You don't want to get anything funky with almond milk or another kind of nut milk. You can add that in the morning of. Also, if you don't have refrigeration, I advise adding any dried fruit or sweeteners the morning of. Bonus points, if you have some chia seeds, you can add that in with the oats at night. Add your water, add a little bit of extra water for the chia seeds, and bingo. Not only do you get some good fats, you also get a really nice texture, in my opinion. I use the thick cut rolled oats, and they work perfectly. And there you go, breakfast taken care of. Next option for lunch or dinner is what I call my container salad. I have ridden Amtrak trains across the country several times, and on these trips, I always make a point when I go through Chicago, I get off the damn train and I book it all the way to Whole Foods. It's like 1.3 miles, not a bad walk at all. I get to Whole Foods, I buy one of those giant containers of greens. Then I grab some tomatoes, like a lime, cucumber, whatever else I want to put in my salad. And then I take that with me, use my handy dandy knife, which you're allowed to bring on Amtrak trains, fun fact. I cut all that up, add it to the salad with some avocado, lime juice, and whatever else I want to use to dress it, and then I just eat that whole entire thing. And in the middle of the country, 3 days into my train trip, boom, I get a really nice infusion of fresh food. My next go-to are burritos. These are really easy to make. You don't need a lot of ingredients on hand, but whatever you have, you can just throw it in there. You're gonna need a can of beans. I like to get like a can of low sodium corn, some salsa, and wraps. If you have access to like some rice or some other whole grain, that's great. You can add that in too, but you don't need it. Any fresh veggies or greens are a great addition as well. It's simple, it's easy, it's cheap, and it's fast. Next up are hummus and veggie sandwiches. Now, if you don't eat gluten like me, that would turn into like hummus and veggies with like rice crackers or something like that. However you want to interpret this combination, you can go for it, but regardless, it's easy and it's super cheap. My next option is if you have a restaurant or something like that available where you can get a hold of some rice. I like to get a side of rice, make sure they don't cook it with butter, and then use either nori strips or those little snack boxes of nori, along with veggies if I can get my hands on it, and just use those to make little sushi bites. Obviously, you can supplement this with whatever fresh fruit you can get your hands on at any point. And if you're in a real pinch, just remember that there's nothing wrong with, you know, eating some Cliff bars or other kind of trail mix bars. Eating some processed food bars like that is not a big deal, and it's a lot better than the alternative, which is usually starving yourself until you get to the point where you eat a cheeseburger. Again, if you know in advance, you can even pre-plan and make yourself your own bars, like the bars that we make, which we call Nollies. The recipe can be found up there. Well, speaking of making food, I have to go throw together some dinner in our kitchen that doesn't have an operable sink, and I guess just throw the dishes in the yard. Spray them down with the hose. Dang, dinner actually looks pretty good. So I made a rice and lentil mix, avocado, we got some jarred salsa, and then I had some fresh veggies that I could cut up. And then you made some guacamole yesterday. Mm-hmm. Damn good. Okay.
Okay. Ah! What the fuck? Oh. Oh my god! Fuck this. Give up.